What's up? What's up? What's going on? Carolina Panthers fans, keep pounding nation. Welcome to another Carolina Panthers talk video brought to you by Blitzball Champ Gaming here on the U to the Tube. I'm your host, Blitzball Champ Jason Ingram. So, the 2024 NFL Draft is in the books. It ended a little bit earlier today. So I just wanted to take time to go back through and talk about each of our draft picks with the players that the Panthers have drafted and just kind of give my thoughts. Okay, let's jump right into it. So, total, Carolina Panthers drafted 7 players total. 7 players total. Drafted 1 in each round. That's right, 1 in each round. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. Now, originally, Carolina Panthers did not have a first round pick, but they ended up swapping spots with the Buffalo Bills to get into the pick 32 of the first round, the last pick of round 1, and they decided to go with wide receiver out of South Carolina, Xavier Legette, which I hope I said his name correctly. Xavier Legette, 6'1", 221 pounds. Just looking at pre-draft analysis, post-draft analysis here on ESPN and whatnot with his profile. So here's what it said about him. Legette weighed 221 pounds and still ran a 4.39 second 40-yard dash at the combine. So it's obvious he has a unique blend of size and speed. He averaged 17.7 yards per catch in 2023, and he's a threat to take the top off the coverage. Legette also tracks the ball well, has outstanding body control and high point jump balls. He's built like a power back but catches passes in stride. And Legette is a powerful open field runner with good instincts after the catch and in the return game. Post-draft analysis. There wasn't a prospect that the Panthers showed more interest in during the pre-draft process than in Legette. In need of an outside threat for Bryce Young, Legette is an explosive, yards after catch, threat that can turn shorter routes into bigger gains. Legette could assume the Chris Godwin role in Dave Canales' offense. Last season, Legette had 10 receptions on passes thrown at least 30 yards downfield, which was tied for the second most in the FBS. Overall value, perfect range. Carolina watched as 2 receivers got drafted late in the first and traded back into the first round to land the top available receiver and the 28th overall player on the board. Okay, I'll say with that, I definitely like the pick. Was kind of hesitant at first when Carolina moved up into the first round to get him. But, being that it was Buffalo that could have taken that player, I felt like they just did what they had to do to just play it safe so that they could get their receiver. And they only really just swapped spots with Buffalo. So, I don't think it was that big of a deal. So, I'm cool with the move, and I like the player. I think it was a good pickup. I think he will turn out well. And like I said, a weapon for Bryce Young. So, definitely like that pick. Moving on to the second round. So, they traded down, and then they traded up. And they ended up picking running back out of Texas, Jonathan Brooks, which was deemed the number one ranked running back in this year's draft class. Okay, pre-draft analysis. Jonathan Brooks, 6 feet tall, 216 pounds. Says Brooks broke out in 2023 after being buried behind Bijan Robinson and Rashawn Johnson on the depth chart using his first 2 seasons at Texas. He runs with great vision, patience, and balance between the tackles. He's quick through the hole and fast enough to rip off long runs when he gets a seam. Brooks runs hard and has the contact balance to break tackles. He's also willing to square up in pass protection. And he's a great pass catcher and a threat after the catch. Brooks suffered a torn ACL late in the 2023 season, but should be ready for NFL training camp. He arguably has the best tape in this running back class. All right, post-draft analysis. Says the buzz all offseason was that the Panthers were doing a ton of work on the running back class despite having Chuba Hubbard and Miles Sanders on the roster. Now they put that work to good use and select the top-rated back in the class. Brooks may have the start of his season delayed due to an ACL injury suffered in November, but once healthy, he has the tools to be the best back on this roster and a true 3-down threat. Okay. Here's what I say about this. First off, this dude definitely great running back. And I could see why he was the number one ranked running back. I could definitely see why. Hands down. And those are a lot of positives, especially with the running, pass catching, and blocking as well. So, all big pluses. But here's what bothered me about this pick. Number one, trading down and then trading back up in order to get him. Secondly, I honestly truly believe that running back wasn't as big of a priority, personally. Like, I understand how people feel about Miles Sanders, and I agree. I totally agree. But I just overall felt with what we got out of this draft, I just honestly didn't believe that running back should have been a big priority, in my opinion. And thirdly, I mean, he is coming off an ACL injury that happened back in November, which means there's a good chance he probably won't even be available for training camp. At the most, definitely probably preseason. But I just don't know. I just really don't know. I just felt like there were needs way more important than running back. But I'm not going to downplay the dude's ability. I mean, like I said, once healthy, I expect him to do some damage. And I hope it works out. But personally, not the pick I would have made. Because I honestly feel like offensive line, defensive line, cornerback, linebacker were a lot more important. Than running back. But I have a feeling this was a Dave Canales enforced pick. Because it sounds like they really want to hit the offense hard to better the offense and to give Bryce more weapons and take a lot more pressure off of him. And if that is the case, that's what they did. I honestly believe they didn't have to trade down and trade back up to get him. I think Carolina still would have been able to get him at number 33 or even at number 39. I think they still would have landed him. So I didn't think it would have been necessary to trade trade up and then trade down, but that's just me. But like I said, I hope that he can get healthy ASAP and then contribute. And if that's the case, then shoot, Miles Sanders is in trouble. Miles is in trouble. And it just might end up being one of those things where he might get cut or traded, and it's just Carolina's going to have to take that cap hit. It is what it is, but I think that's potentially what could happen, being that they drafted Jonathan Brooks. But we shall see. Okay. Let me see something. Oh, I'll go back through that in the next half of this. Next up, third round. So in the third round, Carolina Panthers decided to go linebacker, and they went with linebacker Trevin Wallace out of Kentucky. Look at his analysis post and pre-draft and post-draft. 6'1", 237 pounds. It said Wallace tied for the fourth fastest 40-yard dash time out of the linebackers at the combine, which was 4.51. And he flashes that speed on tape, where he closes well in pursuit and chasing the quarterback. He shows the ability to read the quarterback and pluck the ball out of the air and underneath coverage too. Wallace can stay in phase, turning and running with tight ends, and he is strong enough to hold his ground when teams run at him. He has good length, he wraps up, and he drags ball carriers to the ground. Post-draft analysis. After promoting former linebacker Dan Morgan to the role of general manager, we should have expected the Panthers to add a linebacker early in the draft, which is understandable, despite the team adding Josie Jewell in the free agency. Wallace has the speed and agility to run sideline to sideline and make plays in the run and pass game. Given his playmaking traits, Wallace is a likely weak side linebacker who can also stack inside when the Panthers are in a base 3-4 defense on first down. Only thing that I could really say about this pick, don't really know the guy well. He's not a name that I really came across, but from what folks have said about him, sounds like this was a great pick. Now, that, like I said, that's really all I can say, but from a lot of feedback that I've gotten, sounds like this was a good pick in Trevin Wallace. And I know there was a lot of talks about Peyton Wilson, we could have gotten him and whatnot, but I think the scary thing was his injury history. I think that's probably why Carolina may have backed off, and as well as other teams. But heard a lot of positives about this Trevin Wallace, so we'll see how it goes. All right. Fourth round, Carolina decides to go back to the offensive side of the ball, and they ended up drafting a tight end. Tight end by the name of Jatavion Sanders. They only have a pre-draft analysis on him, but let's see what they say. 6'4", 245 pounds, tight end out of Texas. So that's two Texas players that Carolina has drafted. Says Sanders has the burst to separate from linebackers and the size to win 50-50 balls working against defensive backs. He is a big target who can work against zone coverage looks. He's a natural hands catcher with big hands and the body control to adjust to passes thrown outside his frame. Sanders makes one-handed grabs and makes plays in traffic. He's quick and can break tackles after the catch. He tracks the ball well and has the speed to make plays down the seam. Now, I do understand, me personally, I felt like tight end was a need, but not at the top of the list. But you know what? Heard a lot of great things about him, and he's the second ranked tight end in the draft. You know, as far as position rank, he was the second ranked. And I looked at his tape. Dude looks legit. Dude looks really legit. And he can chase down balls. So, the only thing that I'm very curious about is how the competition is going to look for Carolina at tight end. You know, with Ian Thomas and Tommy Tremble, I mean, they're going to be battling hard. And now that Jatavion Sanders is in the mix, he could take one of their spots. But at the same time, it also makes me wonder with Stephen Sullivan, could they possibly keep him at tight end or move him to wideout? That's another thing that I was thinking about. Could they move Sullivan to wideout, to wide receiver? I think it's possible. But we'll see. But who knows? Jatavion Sanders could win a battle at tight end, and that could lead to either Tremble or Ian Thomas getting the boot. We'll see. But I feel like this was another Dave Canales-like pick to better the offense. And it's another weapon for Bryce. I don't think it would have been the pick I would have made, but I can't hate on this pick too much. Because, I mean, we have been sort of lacking at tight end. So I think this will be some good competition on our team for tight end. So we'll see how it goes. Okay. Next up, round 5, they went with a cornerback. With a cornerback by the name of Chau Smith-Wade out of Washington State. There's only a pre-draft analysis listed here for him, but 5'10", 184 pounds out of Washington State. Says Smith-Wade is quicker than he is fast, and he plays with good balance good balance matching up underneath. He reads the quarterback and sorts out route combinations and zone coverage looks. He's not a ball hawk or a playmaker, and he's on the smaller side with shorter arms, but his timing and toughness make him competitive at the catch point. Smith-Wade tracked the ball and made an impressive over-the-shoulder catch in the Senior Bowl. Well, I mean, not a ball hawk or a playmaker, short arms. I mean, size might be an issue, but they say his timing and toughness make up for it. So, definitely not a name I would have thought of, or, just from examination, not really the cornerback of my choosing. Not somebody I would have chosen, especially not at, late in that round, or him, specifically. But who knows? Maybe he can be evolved into an up and coming threat. We'll see. But that's all I can really say about him. All right. Going into the 6th round, Carolina Panthers went defensive tackle, and I actually like this pick. Jaden Crumedy, defensive tackle out of Mississippi State. 6'4", 301 pounds. And this is what his pre-draft analysis says. It says, Crumedy is a versatile defensive lineman with the size, length, and strength to set the edge when he lines up over offensive tackles and three-man fronts, and to hold his own when he lines up on the inside and four-man fronts. He flashes the ability to get off blocks and make plays when teams run at him. Crumedy has upside as an interior pass rusher. He shows good lateral mobility and balance on the stunts. Well, it sounds like somebody that could potentially be a good rotational depth piece, maybe in the interior, to kind of help complement or work alongside Derek Brown. You know, somebody that could be built up to that level and even higher. I think what this one just comes down is just, you know, coaching and just continuing to evolve them. But I do like the pick. I definitely like the pick. It's another body on at DT, and looks like somebody that can play well in both 3-4 and 4-3. So this is good. This is really good. So I like the pick. I definitely like the pick. And then finally, 7th pick, which I've heard that this guy is a stud. It's linebacker Michael Barrett out of Michigan. Michael Barrett, 5'11", 233 pounds. His pre-draft analysis says Barrett finished his career with the most games played, 64, in program history. He's on the smaller side and can get engulfed at times, but he has good snap in his hips and hands when he plays downhill. His low center of gravity makes it tougher for blockers to get under him. Barrett chases with excellent effort, flashes good stopping power, and forced 3 fumbles last season. He can carry tight ends down the seam and get to the flat, matching up with backs in coverage. But yeah, I've heard that this guy is a stud. I heard that he's a stud. So hopefully he pans out well. But so we ended up drafting a wide receiver, a running back, 2 linebackers, a tight end, a cornerback, and a defensive tackle. I mean, I feel like a few of the needs were definitely met. And it looks like they are satisfied, I guess, at edge and at center. I guess they're satisfied there. But we'll see what happens. Okay, before I switch gears to, because I'm going to go into David Newton's, the Carolina Panthers NFL selection analysis, which is another set of details. Here's a quick word on the sponsor for this video, Game Beauty. Check them out. As you continue to enjoy content here at Blitzball Champ Gaming, be sure you take a moment to check out Game Beauty. Beauty inspired by gaming. Game Beauty brings to you video game related makeup and cosmetic products. You have products such as eyeshadow palettes, elemental pearl highlighters, eyeshadow brushes, liquid eyeliner pens by Akideris, and even non-makeup products like graphic tees. They even have special collaboration makeup kits, such as this Persona 5 Heat Wave Brush Single, Metaverse Bundle, and even a Phantom Thieves limited edition makeup collection. Also remember that Game Beauty provides international shipping of $60 or more. And if you use the promo code BlitzballChamp, all in caps, you can get 10% off of your order. So be sure to use that to your advantage. Now, back to your regularly scheduled video. Enjoy, and thank you. Okay, let's take another deeper look into these draft picks selection analysis. So let's check this out. So starting with wide receiver Xavier Legette. And like I said, this article was written by David Newton, who writes for the Carolina Panthers. Says, my take. Coach Dave Canales said it best. Legette brings versatility. The Panthers absolutely fell in love with Legette's ability to make plays all over the field, from catching passes to jet sweeps to kick returns. That versatility at a skill position is something Bryce Young didn't have last season. So this adds a unique weapon to take pressure off the second-year quarterback. He is also big, 6'1", 221 pounds, and fast, a 4.39 40. Unlike any other Carolina receiver, he's a perfect fit for what Canales wants to create with the pass and run games. One of the questions asked, will he start as a rookie? And it says, while Canales said Legette has a ways to go, his versatility should put him on the field with starters Deontay Johnson and Adam Thielen. And he should get the nod over Jonathan Mingo, who was inconsistent at best as a rookie last year. The versatility that Canales loves is something they want to build around offensively. And then it says, key stat, Legette had 10 catches on throws of 30-plus air yards last season at South Carolina, which is tied for the second most in FBS. The Panthers had one reception on throws of 30-plus air yards last season, the fewest in a season since the Bengals had 0 in 2020. Oof. Wow, that's an unfortunate stat. But looks like Jonathan Mingo could be put on notice. He better get it together, or Legette may take his spot for good. But I think he'll do well. I think he'll really do well. Bryce is pretty pumped. Legette's pretty pumped about working together. So hopefully it pans out. Okay, switching gears to second rounder running back Jonathan Brooks out of Texas. It says, my take, as much as Canales has said he's excited about backs Chuba Hubbard and Miles Sanders, he obviously believed the running game needed an upgrade. You don't take a back in the second round unless you plan to use him. Although Brooks may need time to fully recover from ACL surgery that caused him to miss the final 3 games last season. He's a playmaker who has a nose for the end zone, 10 touchdowns on 187 carries last season. And General Manager Dan Morgan said he was looking for guys who can score. Key stat says at the time of his injury, Brooks was 6th in FBS in rushing yards with 1,139 and had broken or evaded 63 tackles, which is the second most in the FBS at that point. He also had 11 rushes of 20-plus yards, including 4 for touchdowns. The Panthers had 9 total rushes of 20-plus yards and 1 touchdown in 2020. He's dynamic, something the Panthers haven't had since trading Christian McCaffrey. Well, like I said, my only concern is, will he be healthy? And I do agree, when you think about it, no need for them to get him in the second round unless they plan on using him. So I do definitely agree in that aspect, that if you're going to get him that early, y'all better use him. I just hope that he can get healthy to be used. I'm just saying. But Miles Sanders could be one to get the boot if he doesn't get it together, because they already are paying him a lot. Okay, third round pick, linebacker Trevin Wallace out of Kentucky. Here's what it says about my take. It says, Morgan entered the draft looking for dog mentality, and he got that in Wallace. Dog mentality means you don't care if you go hurt somebody, Wallace said. You don't go in there soft. I want you to be scared of me. Wallace isn't necessarily a long-term replacement for the 30-year-old Shaq Thompson, but his ability to cover the field side to side with speed gives him the potential to do that. Give him a year or so behind Thompson and Josie Jewell, and he could prove to be a day 2 steal. And it says what we're hearing about Wallace. And it says, Morgan said Wallace's ceiling is really high. He didn't take Wallace necessarily to replace Thompson, but to learn from him. He should get plenty of playing time on special teams and compete for the third inside linebacker spot behind Thompson and Jewell. Okay. Interesting. So he'll probably get a chance to compete later down the road, but looks like he may be a special teamer for now. But we'll see how it goes. We'll see what kind of preseason he has, you know? But I've heard good things about him, so hopefully it goes well. Okay. Round 4, Ja'Tavion Sanders, tight end from Texas. David Newton's take. He says, definitely an upgrade at a position that quarterback Young could have used some help from during his rookie season. Canales has spoken highly of Tommy Tremble, but he's not the dynamic pass-catching tight end that Sanders can become. Sanders had 99 receptions in 3 seasons, tops for a tight end in Texas history. He could pose problems for defenses, like Greg Olsen did during the development of quarterback Cam Newton. This was a no-brainer at this point. Key stat. Young had an NFL worst 44.8 total QBR last season when targeting the tight end last season. Oof. Wow. His tight ends combined for 59 catches, the 5th fewest in the NFL. If you look most of the successful teams in the NFL, you'll find a dynamic pass-catching tight end as a common denominator. This was 100% a pick to make Young better. Fair enough. I mean, after hearing that stat, in all honesty, I get you really can't blame them for this pick. You can't blame them for this pick. 5th fewest yards, or 5th fewest catches for tight ends for the Carolina Panthers. That's not good. Especially considering we've been a dangerous team on offense when we've had successful tight end play. So, the move makes sense. All right. Round 5. Cornerback Chau Smith-Wade from Washington State. David Newton's take. A definite need for depth at a position where injuries have hurt the past few years, which is understandable. Smith-Wade will be a backup and special teamer at best this season. He offers speed, a 4.5440, and knows for the football that GM Dan Morgan wants. He's coming off a soft tissue injury that forced him to miss the final 5 games and is more of a project at this point. Which word was that was a AC shoulder joint injury. Nickel, where he had 2 interceptions in the Senior Bowl, may be his future in the NFL. So, pretty much a depth piece, like they said. I mean, hopefully, with this happening, and hopefully Carolina's next move is to get Stephon Gilmore. That needs to happen. And I think if that happens, I think it seals the deal on the secondary. So they need to hopefully go ahead and get Stephon Gilmore. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. Round 6. Jaden Crumedy, defensive tackle out of Mississippi State. David Newton's take, it says, this is totally a depth move. His ability to push the pocket is what Carolina will look for him out of him in its 3-4 scheme. He likely won't be a threat to start, but he has the flexibility and size, 6'4", 301 pounds, to play inside or out. Depth behind a solid starting 3 is key here. Totally understandable. I don't think anything better can be said about that. So yeah. And then finally, round 7, linebacker from Michigan, Michael Barrett. Not a whole lot said from David Newton's take, but he said Barrett is undersized at 5'11", 233 pounds, but he has a nose for the football and brings a physicality to the game that makes up for his lack of size. Barrett should get a chance to contribute immediately, at least on special teams. I mean, seems like the negativity is his size, but we'll see what happens. I mean, it's a 7th rounder, so I mean, we'll see what happens. But overall, looking over these picks, if I had to give this a grade, like after really looking over this, because a couple of these picks I weren't really a fan of, but after looking over it, I have to say a C+. I have to say a C+. Because I do feel like they did meet some of their needs. Like I said, I was just really questionable on the running back pick. I was just really questionable on that and how it was done. But hopefully this will pan out well. Hopefully this will pan out well. As it was going, I was leaning more towards a C-, but honestly, I can tolerate most of this, so I'd say C+. I can't give it a B-. I can't. I just can't. But hope I get proven wrong. I really do. Because of course I'd rather be proven wrong in a good way. I mean, But we'll see what happens. I think just the overall biggest concern for me was just the running back pick. That was the overall concern for me. But we'll see how this draft goes as far as how the players do going forward. But that's your Carolina Panthers 2024 NFL draft class. Of course, next things to look out for are who they may pick up undrafted. That's number 1. And number 2, do they seal the deal with Stephon Gilmore? That'll be the next 2 things to look out for, in my opinion. But that'll do it for this video. Don't forget to check out Game Beauty when you have a chance. And keep pounding Nation. Let me hear from you. What are your thoughts on this year's draft, and what overall grade would you give the Carolina Panthers draft? And don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and hit that notification bell while you're at it. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed this video. For another Carolina Panthers talk, brought to you by Blitzball Champ Gaming here on the U to the Tube. My name is Jason Ingram. Hope everybody has a blessed day tomorrow, and I will see y'all in the next video in our live stream. Peace. Later.